Ooh,
Can you hear me?
I can.
Cool. What's going on?
It sounds like there's a fan in the background.
There's no fan. They're just doing work outside.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't sound bad.
I mean, that's just the way
It is what
it is. What it is. I know. So how are you doing? It sounds like a good day.
Yeah, it's been a busy day. And good. It's been a good couple weeks, Ty, I gotta say.
Good. So fill me in on today. You said there was another 80s thing that...
that Wicked Sheets. Did you read that email? Was so long.
I know, because I just got off of work at 10, so...
I sent it yesterday, but read it when you get a chance.
Sure.
I reached out to them because of my night sweats. I think I told you this.
Yeah.
And, the president of the company called me back, and we got to talking, and they want to definitely advertise with us.
Oh,
they've never done.
I mean, it's yeah.
They've never done digital advertising before. Oh, hold on. Hang on. Okay. They've never done digital advertising before, so it would be like their first time ever doing it. And they're really interested in the Beats and Eats brand because of our demos being 80s related. They're also really interested in tapping into our contacts just to open doors for them. Some of like Lydia and Kira.
Oh, yeah.
And that kind of stuff. So read the email. It's fully encompassing. But when I told them about the 80s cruise, I said, we're right now in negotiations with possibly hosting the 80s celebrity cruise. And they were both like, oh my God, like this is our demo. And then I had given them the link to the app, and they saw the VJs, and they're just super impressed. I told them $35 CPM, and they want me to get back to them the 1st of August, but it was a great conversation. That was Monday.
Oh, yeah. I think I did read that amongst other things. Yeah, that's exciting. And I think that's actually the route we need to pursue at some point here, is really sitting down and figure out, okay, instead of doing everything buckshot, we really need to sit and target who I don't really see a choice.
No, and it's working. I mean, we didn't get DraftKings, and now FanDuel and DraftKings are fighting over placement. We didn't get that by PodTrack.
Yeah, of course.
It's all been business to business. Same thing with LinkedIn, really, other than the fact that Ed referred us. But, it's been pretty much, we've had most success with, I think, business to business stuff. So I reached out to Blue Apron, Two Touch POS. Blue Apron's like a mail to farmers market.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
Two Touch POS. These are all for Beats and Eats. Then Shifts is definitely interested in teaming with us once they get their e-commerce stakes program going. I think that's the route we have to take, is all e-commerce stuff. And, going after the 99 designs and the 4 squares and blue square, whatever they are, leave that to PodTrack. We need to go after this.
And not only that, we need to do things that we're in control of. I mean, I really believe that. And with PodTrack, I feel like everything is so out of our hands, and you have to wait, and you know what I mean?
Oh, I mean, I'm still waiting now they just said they're mailing the first check this week.
Do they give you the amount for Celtics beat?
It's like $225.
Hey, better than a stick in the eye.
Oh, I mean, listen, right now we're bringing in $225 a month from PodTrack. I'm happy with that. Now, if we could get fucking Jeff Kane to get, I don't want to talk CLNS here, but if we could get Jeff Kane to get off his ass and record.
Yeah, what's going on with him? Is he doing okay?
Well, he was just burned, but he's writing for 10 sites. It's like focusing on one thing.
Yeah, do one thing great. Yeah.
Yeah. And so he's starting again regularly next week, and he's not going to miss an episode, he said, through the season. So that's good. But I mean, that's a show that was there. It was right there.
Yeah, and right there on the cusp, and I've been wondering what happened, and I haven't contacted him. I almost thought about it, just saying, "Hey, Jeff, what's going on?"
Yeah, I mean, he's been in touch. He's just been burnt out, and he wanted to wait till he got back from vacation. I understand that. So
Yeah.
And I was like, and I had a conversation on the phone with them about 2 weeks ago and said, listen, you are never, ever, ever going to get where you need to be unless you're consistent. And I never had to worry about that with you. I know it's the off season, but it's not like this off season there hasn't been shit to talk about.
No.
I mean, if anything, there still is. So I'm not gonna bitch. I'm really focused in on the shows that are on the cusp. I'm focused in on our show, and I think that that's where it needs to be. And
yeah, and I'm liking what you're saying about, for instance, the Sheets Company, and I think I really believe the more or the less we focus on PodTrack, and while it's an important part of the equation, and the more we focus,
gotta happen organically.
The more that we focus on being creative. I don't know what's going to happen with the 80s cruise. I have no idea. I'm hoping the fact that he's taking our call is a good sign.
Right. Absolutely. And I think that that's going to work out. I really do. I think it's going to work. I think they'll give us a cabin. If they don't give us 2, maybe at least they'd give us a 4-person cabin. You know what I mean? Where to go.
Yeah, exactly.
And if not, then you just go, you and Michelle. But I'm thinking they will. It's nothing. They always save cabins like that. Like my mom used to plan these cruises, so it shouldn't be an issue. We'll see. I mean, maybe they're just going to want to give us guests, and if they want to give us guests, that's good too.
That's fine too. But yeah. Or if they want to pay us to promote their show, that's fine too.
Right. That's great. That's the best. They're never going to want to pay. It would be either trade or something. But the other thing is with those Wicked Sheets, I mean, I hate to say it, but I got that reaching out to them from Larry, because with America's Farmers Network and that Dr. Ron's, they're sending him, I mean, he's getting $800 a month in food from America's Farmers Market.
Right.
He's getting his groceries from them. He's getting $400 a month in supplements. So he's making $1,200 a month on Celtics beat.
Yeah.
So he's thrilled.
He's getting what he wants out of it. Exactly. Yeah.
So,
exactly.
And in my estimation, I literally had I didn't know what to do with these night sweats. So I Googled it, and I came across this Wicked Sheets, which, by the way, have cured my night sweats.
Fantastic.
And when I looked at it, I'm like, this is like a Casper. So I wonder if they're podcast advertising. And I just went to the contact page and expressed my interest in their product for my own purposes, and just threw in there what we do. And here, she called me the next day. She sent me this beautiful care package. I have sheets for free. And there were $200 sheets for free.
Gotta like that.
So, and now she's had me on the phone with her digital person twice already. So, and I'm not letting them juice me for information. I often do that. I talk too much. So, and then we had a great call with Comcast. So that's moving forward. We're going to talk again the 1st of August. And that's about your ideas with cross-promoting with Twitter and feeding us, an interview of the week with either Scalabrini or Gorman or Heinsohn.
Yeah, exactly.
Some on-air TV spots where Gorman does live reads for us. So that's huge. And then I reached out to Ordway today. So we'll see where that goes.
Yeah, I used to listen to him all the time.
Me too.
And then I can't listen to E. I actually have a hard time listening to Boston sports talk, period.
They're so annoying. They're so negative. And they're so Red Sox based. It's sickening. And there's nothing to be positive about there. But yeah, the other thing is with Ordway, I mean, he ain't going to pay us. He's going to want to get paid. Neither of those things are going to happen, but we could show him how to podcast. And, if you go to his website, he has regular guests that are mainstream media. So I'm thinking he could open doors for us. Fuck, maybe he'll do a garden report for us for the Bruins and call it Big O on Ice.
You never know.
You never know. And I mean, if you read that, you probably didn't read it, but he's fed up with podcasting. It was in the Herald.
Oh, yeah.
Can't make money, too much time, too time consuming. I was like, I can solve all those problems for you.
Yeah.
So maybe he'll reach out. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. Either you want to do it or not. And it is time consuming, and either you're committed to it or not. I can see why other people, there aren't a lot of people in it. I mean, there are, and they're not. They're not. So it's still.
And I think you see it too, going from where you were a regular anchor on TV and kind of praised and loved, to go into podcasting is praiseless and loveless.
Pretty much, unless you sing your own praises, which
we're
trying to get back to. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So, but that's true across the board. There's just so many different entertainment outlets now than in years past. And it's just, between music choices and podcasts and regular radio and TV and YouTube and Paris. It's just like,
it's so much. Yeah. It's overload.
Yeah, it's crazy to keep up. So, wow, it sounds like they just turned off that machine.
Let's go now, then.
Yeah.
You want to do pop culture first, or do you want to do the rap first?
Yeah, we'll do. We can do pop culture first. That's fine.
Do you want to do the top 5 on the rap, or just keep that real short?
No, let's do the top 5 on the '80s cruise because it makes sense.
Okay. I think so.
The Live Aid performances.
We've done this before.
Yeah, I think we. It's probably been a while, but that's all right.
It's been 2 or when it was when they were coming out with the DVD.
That's right. Yeah.
So, okay. Hang on a minute. I'm just getting booted up here, and Pamela's working. Okay.
Yeah, I want this to sound halfway decent because we're uploading it and we're using it to say, hey, we want to do your.
Actually, it sounds really good.
Oh, okay.
So, all right. Pamela's running, and I'll count you down. You got the pop culture topics. You need any background on that shit?
No. So we're going to we'll do the pop culture first. It's fine. So we'll do about 20 minutes. We'll talk about Trump and Cosby and.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, some of the shit in here is a 2-minute thing. We could get George Lucas out of there if you don't want to do it. I just thought it was interesting because the Eagles are also on there, and I hate the Eagles, and you like them.
Yeah, not a huge fan, but it's true. I mean, they are on there, and just what they've accomplished is pretty incredible. I don't like all their songs by any means. I do like Don Henley a lot.
Yeah, I like Don Henley solo. Okay, 5, 4. Oh, don't forget Twitter, Patreon, all that bullshit. 5.
Yeah.
4, 3, 2, 1.
The virtual lounge is back open. Tyree, Nick Gelso, Beats and Eats. Scott Mitchell's pouring the drinks, and we're getting intoxicated today by pop culture. Yeah. Actually, we're getting intoxicated by Donald Trump. And Nick, I swear to God, I swear if I have to see this man one more time, why don't people get this? Okay, before we get started here, before we go off on a long rant, let's first out give our Twitter handles. Let's give them out.
Yeah.
I'm at Coog88.
Coog. And I'm at CLNS_Nick. And Ty, it's tricky.
Yes, it is. It's at Beat the letter and Eats. That is the Beats and Eats Twitter account, and we appreciate your feedback. We grow leaps and bounds by day, and we cannot do this show without you. And of course, Donald Trump doesn't think we can do the show without him. He's responsible for mankind as we know it. Nick, I got to tell you, though, right now, of course, elections aren't decided a year ahead of time, but right now he's right there on top with Jeb Bush in the GOP polls.
Actually surpassed him in 2 polls yesterday.
Nuts.
Not, Ty, I'm not I don't know. It's a joke. To me, it's kind of laughable, but the whole GOP is laughable to me, as you know. And we're not a political show, so we won't go crazy on that. But one thing about Trump is he's definitely a Saturday Night Live skit in real time because he's hilarious and he doesn't mean to be. And of course, he's offending people, which is never funny. But did you watch him with Anderson Cooper?
Yes, I did. Yes.
How about like Anderson would be like, Chris Christie, missed the boat. Jeb Bush, stupid.
Yeah, real heavy-duty analysis. This is a critical thinker, Donald Trump.
I will build the Great Wall of China between Mexico and the United States, and Mexico will pay for it.
You will. Sure, Don, no problem. How are those investigators going in Hawaii? They found out if Obama's been born in Kenya yet?
Well, that's funny. Because Anderson actually said Barack Obama, and he said, not yet proven. He said it's still not.
The man released his birth certificate.
I know. And I don't know, Ty. I'm not voting for Trump. I'm not taking him seriously, but I'm loving what he's doing to the GOP. And I think yesterday was a great example, with yesterday being Tuesday, Monday and Tuesday were great examples. With all the GOP rhetoric now is turning towards the border again. So Trump is doing something in that capacity. I'm so anxious to see him on the debate stage where he's going to get crushed.
He's going to get buried. You know who he reminds me of? He's a celebritician, right? That's what I call him. He's a celebritician, a politician and a celebrity.
Yeah,
and
that's great.
He reminds me a lot, Nick, of Sarah Palin, especially early on. Because if you remember when Palin hit the stage and was able to use the teleprompter really well, and she was very attractive and charismatic, I will give her that, no doubt about it. She was very popular until you had to dig a little deeper under the surface, right? And then it really got it to, she got exposed for being the fraud she is. And that is going to happen to Donald Trump. Once the spotlight hits him, once people really get a grasp of about what this man is about, it's done. But you don't have to do that in 15-second sound bites.
There's something, well, first of all, not only that, but with the media where he could continually spin it.
Yes.
I mean, he doesn't answer it. He answers the question. It's nice to hear straight talk. He definitely gives you straight talk. But you know what, Ty?
Even if it's bullshit, right?
If you and I quit doing beats and eats and decided we were going to tell people we were going to, listen, we can solve the border problem. We will build the Great Wall of China, but we're not going to say how we're going to do it. Well, anybody could do that, you know?
Yeah,
I think
solving the world's problems in 10 seconds, it's just not possible in 10-second sound bites, but he's making it sound like it's possible.
But aren't these polls, like when you think about it, he's getting 17% of the polling now, right? Right, but aren't these polls kind of proving just how fractured the GOP is right now?
Yeah, I think so. And I think one reason he's up there, one big reason, isn't just because of the fact that he's dominated the news. He just has name recognition, right? Nobody knows who the hell Bobby Jindal is, even though I do, but they know who Donald Trump is. Nobody knows who John Kasich is, but they know who Donald Trump is. People know Jeb Bush. Hell, they probably think he's George Bush, the American president, for all we know.
You know, and now you talk about Trump getting called out, and this week, Kate Steinle's brother, you know, this obviously being the girl who was murdered by the 5-time deported illegal immigrant, really called out Trump on all media sources, basically by saying Donald Trump's camp never even called them to ask what their opinions are. They just basically used her name to further their cause. So that kind of and Trump has had no reaction that I've seen as of yet, although his Twitter handle is hilarious, Ty. You've got to watch his Twitter handle. You know, he's getting into,
must I? Do I have to?
Well, you must, just for the comedy of it. I mean, right now, he's getting into Twitter battles with El Chacho or El Chapo or whatever the fuck that guy's name is down in Scarface down in Mexico. I don't know how he's tweeting, but somebody has his handle and is tweeting to Donald Trump. I guess things that are untranslatable because of the profanity, and Trump is fighting back with them.
How small of him. Think about it. If you're running for president of the United States and you're Donald Trump, it is the most powerful position in the entire world. Why would you punch down, right? And it just goes to show, Nick, what a poor sport and how short-fused Donald Trump is. And just wait when he blows a gasket and this whole thing implodes. It's going to happen.
Well, that's what's going to happen on the debate stage, I think, because he's obviously not he's not well versed on the topics he's bringing up. Because guys like, not saying Anderson Cooper is stupid, he's obviously very intelligent, but guys like him are stumping Trump to a certain extent by pushing him for answers. But Trump also, like you said, he's volatile. He's so narcissistic. We may see a complete meltdown on the debate stage.
Also,
if any of these Republican candidates are ballsy enough to actually challenge him, because they're so afraid of the Ross Perot element.
I think they will challenge him. And also, I don't think... Hey, Ross Perot was a friend of mine. Donald Trump is no Ross Perot. I know that he talks about running as a third-party guy. That's why they're afraid of offending him. Ross Perot actually brought concrete, real solutions to the table. That's why he gained his popularity in the polls.
And great SNL skits.
Yeah, terrific SNL skits. But he actually was a very credible president for candidate. Donald Trump is not. So even though they might be afraid that he could break off and become a third-party candidate, therefore throwing the election to Hillary Clinton, I don't see that as something that could happen. And not only that, I don't think Donald Trump has ever been committed to doing anything like this in his entire life. I just don't. I think he's a carnival barker. I think he's P.T. Barnum in a suit. That's all this man is. And he sucked all the oxygen out of the room. And I feel sorry for guys like Jeb Bush, who I actually, while disagreeing almost on every single issue, I will not vote for him. I have respect for him. And I think if the man were to win the presidency, I would feel okay with that. Because he's got a half a brain, right? More than a half a brain.
Right. Speaking of brains and maybe not so intelligence, years later, after thinking he's a genius, harped on in every television channel on TV, obviously, and for obvious reasons, and that's Bill Cosby. What a sad story.
It's a horrible story, Nick. Because
horrible.
Such an icon, TV icon, and so revered. I grew up, yeah, exactly, and I grew up with people talking and singing Bill Cosby's praises, and I think about the Cosby Show, which to me was just a wonderful program, reflected by the incredible ratings it got as well during the 1980s. A very strong African American family, very strong. You don't see that. You just don't see that presented on TV, certainly not in the 1980s like it should be. And to see that just completely torn down is so sad. And of course, I feel worse for the victims of this whole thing, if they are true, if the allegations are true. And it sounds like they're true if in depositions he's admitting to having given victims drugs. It's just insane, Nick.
I have a problem with the whole deposition thing. I'm glad Cosby has been exposed for the bum that he now is, or always was, but we've just realized he is recently, as of last year. But when you're giving a under oath court deposition that's confidential, I think that's a slippery slope where the judge can say, hey, look he's out, on the parade, preaching morality. I think that's okay for me to release this. That case was settled out of court civilly. That was a lock and key deposition. I have a small problem with that.
I do too, because, dare I say it, no pun intended here, playing judge and jury, right? What happened was he heard the comments by some of the victims and he heard the denials by Cosby and said, no, that's it. We're going to let this go now. Because you're lying. You're lying to the public about what you've done. You're making all these denials. It really is sick, Nick. It really is a sick case. Cosby's getting what he deserves. And I honestly want to put this to bed at some point in time, because it's such a sorry case. And
it's going to take Cosby to do that.
It is. And I'm not certain if he could come out and say, I'm sorry. I don't think that would work. I just don't. I just think that this is a sad conclusion to, it was a wonderful career. It really was. And he was such a great role model, but who knew? Who knew?
For African Americans, here he was preaching the greatness of the African American culture, and also how for young African Americans to strive to be great, right? He definitely did preach that. You heard it in his comedy. He was always looking towards the better side of it. My question is is this a fetish? Why did Bill Cosby, worth how many billions of dollars, have to, whether it was 40 years ago or 10 years ago, have to drug, and with quaaludes of all things, drug women to have sex with him? Was this a fetish?
I have no idea, Nick, but I do know it's always about power, right? Rape is about power. Sure. Not usually about sex. It's about power. And it's just,
but he had that.
He's an egomaniac.
Total
egomaniac. And exactly. And that is a sickness all to itself. And like I said, I hope that this comes to a conclusion and we can get it out of the headlines, because it is very upsetting. It really is upsetting, and we need to be done with it. And I hope it comes to a resolution. And honestly, how old's Cosby now? What, 77?
7.
Yeah. And honestly, the man deserves to be behind bars. He does. If this is true, he deserves to be behind bars.
But a statute of limitations, he can't be.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
I mean, he walks. He walks maybe a little less wealthy, but he walks. And I have two questions for you on this before we move forward. First one is, should he have to give back his Presidential Medal of Honor?
Oh, I think
that's being called for,
Yes, I know. I think so. Absolutely. It's one of the most highest honors in the country.
It is the highest.
And it's based on a lie in this case, right? His honor is based on a lie.
And most think it was awarded to him by Obama. It was actually by George W.
Yes.
Yeah. So I kind of agree with you there. I think that's got to go. Obviously, the bust of him is down at Disney World. He's lost all his sponsorships. So Cosby suffering in that capacity, I don't think it in any way makes up for the suffering these women, who many of them that you see, I think you hear them, they're scarred. Like they seem to be very scarred.
And many of them called kooks, right, when this first came out.
Oh, yeah. And he was calling them
crazy.
Kooks, and we believed him. How could you not? He was so credible. And the second question I have is, as the weeks go on and we're asking for this to come out of the news cycle, it's going to be a while, but we're asking for it to go. More and more memes are showing up on Facebook. I personally not laughing at the victims here because nothing about that is funny. Some of the memes are hilarious. And while I'm looking at them and considering liking them, I always think of you, Ty, because you have such staunch views on certain things. So I have to ask you, do you chuckle at the memes of Bill Cosby? Like one today was him standing over Snow White with that silly look he'd make on the Cosby Show, and Snow White is sleeping. I mean, there's just some really funny ones out there. Do you find them disgusting and deplorable?
I can't find them funny in this case.
I knew it.
I just can't. I can understand how you can, and people are entitled to laugh at what they want. And sometimes when there's craziness in the world and sickness in the world, we have to laugh at it. But in this case where you're talking, so many women had their lives affected by this powerful man who took advantage of them physically. I just can't find that funny. And there's nothing funny about this at all to me. So I would say no, but teach their own.
I had to ask.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I literally do think. Yeah. So anyway, staying on, I guess, on the pop culture news and quite somewhat political. Confederate flag. Last time we spoke, we were calling for it to come down. It did come down last week from the South Carolina Capitol grounds. Thoughts on that, Ty?
Isn't that amazing? I was thinking about this the other day, and I was standing in the newsroom when it came down and listening to a live feed, and the cheering, the passion shown by the people when it was brought down. And it's hard to believe that things have moved so quickly. That was going to be unheard of. Could you imagine just 2 months ago if you had said, let's take down the Confederate flag? And sure, there were proponents of it, but the real diehards in South Carolina would have said, not only no, hell no, and I'll do it when you pry the Confederate flag from my cold, dead hands. And it just goes to show what a wave of momentum can do. And unfortunately, took the awful incident of 9 innocent people getting murdered in a black church to make that happen, something that should have happened anyway. But it took people losing their lives to have this symbol removed. It's too bad it had to come to that.
It took the congresswoman, can't remember her name right now, shame on me, who was a relative, a descendant of Jeff Davis, Confederate president, who absolutely broke down as they were debating it in the House in South Carolina. And that's really what swung the vote.
It really did. It just created this momentum. And I think Nikki Haley, the governor, did a very smart thing by stepping out immediately, even though, she's a Republican in a very Republican state. She stepped out and ahead of time and said, yeah, it's going to come down. I'm in favor of it coming down. It needs to come down. And I think people fear being on the wrong side of history. And it's time for the page to be turned. And it finally is in that state. And history will remember the people that didn't vote to bring it down. Trust me on this one.
But Ty, what's next year? I mean, the Confederate flag it's a part of the flag, the Mississippi state flag. Should it be removed?
Right.
Should it?
That's a good question. I don't see why not. Maybe it will be. At some point in time, I think we really need to take a deep look at what are the things that really mean something to this country. The American flag is our flag. Nothing else is our flag. It's that simple.
Has anything? I sound like I'm interviewing you here, Ty, but I've been dying to get your opinions on this. Has anything kind of been more embarrassing to Caucasian people than the crazy, and maybe only the media showing the crazy one, but the crazy rednecks down south toting their Confederate flags and fighting and just vile and vulgar? It kind of reminds me of those that opposed gay marriage. It really kind of, here in a moment where we as Americans are proud to see us close the page on the Confederacy and the Civil War, and I think this is one part of it, a big part of it. But then looking at who's protesting it coming down, these aren't, I mean, I don't know how to say it in a PC way. They're protesting against, I guess podcasting, fuck PC, but they're protesting against the Confederate flag coming down and saying that this is because of their relationship with the Confederacy. Yeah, but they're cursing at the black people.
Yeah, exactly. And it is a symbol of repression. It is a symbol of a time in American history that saw countless young men lose their lives. We forget how bloody that war was.
Oh, let's put it this
way.
Antietam, the Battle of Antietam. Take the War of 1812, the Mexican-American War, the Revolutionary War, and so all the wars up to the point of the Civil War, the French and American War, all four of those wars, add them together, and I think all the deaths only comprise 50% of the casualties in the Battle of Antietam in the Civil War.
Yeah.
D-Day, only 20, the most bloodiest battle in World War II, only 25% of those people that were lost in Antietam in 1862, I think. So, yeah, you're talking all Americans. You know, we're putting casualties of the Confederacy under the American casualties because they're Americans. And so the flag comes down. I'm glad to see it come down. I think you and I talked about this very issue 2 or 3 years ago on this show. And some people got really outraged because we took very hard stance on.
Well, they did. I really came out, I think, on one particular episode against the South and the way that the South has used a mindset that's in the past. And as a result, they're behind on education. They're behind on a lot of things. They've stayed behind on a lot of things while the rest of the country has moved forward. And that's why there's such great poverty in the South. Because to me, the South lives in the past. That is a subject for an entirely different show. And I took some heat when I said that. And I still stand by that, by the way. Just look at the numbers. Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana. Look at the numbers when it comes to poverty.
Well, they've repressed. They've I mean, and we don't want to harp on this, but release the slaves, and then for 100 years, literally held them back from any sort of advancement in education, in jobs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we're not talking about government subsidies here, government privileges. We're talking about literally holding them back. I mean, so obviously it's going to take generations to recover from that. And the South, in many ways, I think you saw it in South Carolina when the flag was coming down, and that's a big step forward. But you still see the opposition there, Ty, right?
You do. And there's still people who want to hang on to the past. And there's a lot of fear. People always have fear of change. And let me tell you, in the last month, we have seen more change in this country than we've seen in a long time. And just this week, of course, we heard about how the Pentagon may lift the ban on transgendered soldiers.
They will. They are. It's confirmed.
They're going to. Right. They're going to do a survey. They're going to survey the situation, find out what the effects are. But they're looking at it from the standpoint that transgendered people should be able to serve. So they're looking at it from the right side. My point being that things are changing and changing rapidly in our nation. And for some people, they're afraid. Fear of change is a big deal for a lot of people, and people just can't handle it. So I like where we're going. I think we're going to be in store for a lot of conflict in the coming years, but we'll see. Hopefully not.
Ty, lightening it up, and I guess 2 more quick topics here. Sex with Brody Jenner. I'm not asking you if you had it, but did you watch it?
No.
Good.
No.
It was horrible, and this is a podcast that now E is broadcasting on television as well, kind of similar to what Howard Stern does. And Brody Jenner, good-looking guy, but dude, you want to talk about a chauvinist. I watched 1 episode. I think only 2 have aired. I had to turn it off midway through. End of topic. Bad show. Don't watch it. Bad for podcasting.
And by the way, the whole Caitlyn Jenner story, I was disappointed. I am disappointed that story is going to be told on reality TV. You've seen this, right?
I have, and I'm not. I'm looking forward to seeing it.
I'm not. We talked about this very subject.
So I didn't put it on
another episode of Beats and Eats. Yep. Well, what I mean is we talked about, hey, I admire Bruce Jenner for becoming Caitlyn Jenner and becoming what she wanted to be all these years, as long as you don't do it to
exploit.
Yeah, exploit. Exactly. Exploit yourself or do it for fame. And here we are. Once again, hopefully it's not going to be the equivalent of Keeping Up with the Kardashians. I'm so over it. And honestly, Nick, I am really over reality TV, but move on.
Well, I am too. But before we move on, this is a topic that I think kind of we both should have an opinion on it, and it's timely. The Espys. Caitlyn will be receiving the Arthur Ashe Award this week, right?
Right. Now, my question is, did ESPN choose her because she had the biggest name out there and has been in all the headlines in recent months? You mean to tell me there's not a bigger sports story with somebody overcoming the odds than Caitlyn Jenner?
I would say there is. I don't know if it's riding the popularity wave or if it's trying to show equal opportunity or tolerance. I don't know, but all I do, and I don't know if I agree with it going to her. But I do know if I was in that audience that night, I would not boo her.
No.
So I hope she doesn't get booed.
Of course not.
But I think she may hear some boos.
Right, and as you know, I totally support Caitlyn Jenner. I just think that there's got to be others. Of course, don't even get me going on the ESPYs. I cannot stand the friggin' ESPYs.
I know you can't.
Oh, God. Let's just celebrate ourselves some more. And the award for the best double in the Major League season goes to, I'm like, really?
How about Serena at 33?
Amazing.
Serena Slam, going for the Grand Slam.
Incredible.
Love her.
Woman, yeah, she is absolutely amazing. And what shape that woman is in. It's incredible. Absolutely incredible. And hats off to Venus, too. It's funny, we forget that the beginning, years ago, it was Venus who was dominating, and Serena had to catch up. And both of them have had injury problems over the years, and Serena has just become the dominant one of the two. But what a phenomenal story she has been after all this time. And really, there are some great female tennis players that are out there, but no one compares to Serena Williams. It's just too easy.
In history.
Oh, boy, that's a tough one. I mean, Martina Navratilova was pretty awesome. Chrissy Everett.
Yep.
Monica Seles before the poor girl got stabbed in the back.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yep. Yeah, that was horrible. Horrible.
Absolutely. I mean, she never really recovered from that.
Who was the short? She wore glasses. She had kind of like the pixie do. It was the late 70s.
Oh, Billie Jean King?
Billie Jean King.
Oh,
okay.
Great tennis player.
Right. But I think Serena takes the cake there in female tennis players. And she's got to go for the Grand Slam. She's not done that yet. I think the last to do it was Steffi Graf, right?
Phenomenal player, too.
Yep. She was I love tennis. I don't know if you know that about me.
No, I didn't know that. I really did get into tennis at one time, and then it just fell off the radar screen. And I think it fell off the radar screen when the game lacked personalities, right? No offense to Pete Sampras, who was an amazing player, but just zero personality.
Well, right. You went from Andre Agassi, John McEnroe.
Yeah, I mean, you went from
the greats. McEnroe throwing his friggin' racket at the judges. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, you go from having Andre Agassi mullet and bright neon wardrobe taking the court, married to Brooke Shields, and then we've got Pete Sampras.
who great talent, good-looking guy, but just no charisma whatsoever.
Ivan Lendl and Jim Courier. These names aren't the most exciting people, and I still love John McEnroe. Anytime he pops up on a commercial, too. I'm glued. He was great.
Me too. Such a compelling character. And you loved, even when you hated him, you loved him.
I loved him. Those wars he had with Bjorn Borg, very reminiscent in the 1970s of Ali and Frazier and the great sports rivalries of all time, right? Jimmy Connors, you got to throw him in the. Connors was great too. I mean, here's a guy that was dating Playboy models, good-looking guy. The Burt Reynolds of tennis. Those were the golden days of tennis. And I know I'm sounding old here, but it's so true. And I look at the men's and there's some great players on the men's side, but I think most of the American public just kind of shrugs their shoulders anymore.
Well, and I don't think there's that many American standouts, are there?
No, not really. It needs a wave of people, but unfortunately, it's like any other sport. It's dominated by money, right? And
unlike us, Ty, we are. We'd like to be.
Unlike us.
Speaking of money.
Speaking of money, but I think that, it's been hurt by the fact that there just haven't been any great American players in recent years with great personalities. And that's why I said Andre Agassi comes to mind as somebody I think Americans, he was just ready for prime time.
He was, and you had, it was very much like, or I would think Tiger Woods was in the vein of Andre Agassi. Now, obviously, Tiger went on to a much better career in his respective sport, but he was wearing Nike in golf, having a multicultural player in golf. All these things were breaking barriers, and Agassi did very similar things by going very pop culture, very mainstream. He was, in that Brat Pack type era, right? And tennis was very staunch, and you bowed at the Queen and, at Wimbledon and all that jazz. And I think Agassi was somebody that you expected to really have an amazing career, and he was kind of short-lived, a couple years.
Yeah, but he had substance abuse problems to derail it a little bit, and isn't that so cliche? But so true. Guys fall into their fame and get trapped by it. Chris Mullin became an alcoholic, resurrected his career, but the sports world is littered with people who've had great potential that didn't reach their full potential because of substance abuse problems. But I can't believe you mentioned the ESPYs. I will not be watching, Nick. I refuse to watch the ESPYs. I do not need the self-congratulation society. I don't.
I'll watch just to see what happens with Caitlyn. I watched when the Celtics won the championship. I don't watch often. The Heat.
Now, having said that,
Now,
having said that, Jim Valvano made one of the most incredible speeches I've ever seen, and I mean ever. Any kind of speech ever.
The
Valvano speech was incredible. That took place at the ESPYs. Stuart Scott, of course, gave that emotional speech last year, and of course, who knew he was going to pass away not soon after? That was gripping television, but overall, I just. The award for the best triple in Major League Baseball this year goes, who gives a shit?
Gives a shit. Oh, it's kind of like the MLB All-Star Game, although that at least has some consequences when you're talking long-term. That, of course, just passed us. How about Pete Rose, man?
I think
Pete
that's
Rose
fantastic.
Standing. Oh, I got the chills. I thought it was great.
Doesn't mean Pete Rose is a great guy. Doesn't mean I condone what he did, but he belonged there, especially with the All-Star game in Cincinnati.
Being in Cincinnati.
Charlie Hustle, he was the big red machine. He was the heart of that team. They had so many great players on those wonderful teams in the 1970s, but Pete Rose made that team go. He was the attitude, the toughness of that team. And to do what Major League Baseball has done to him, granted, Pete has done this to himself too, I think is ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous to go overboard, keeping him away from everything. He is the all-time leader in hits, for crying out loud.
Yeah, I mean,
okay.
And then A-Rod, who is now, what did he have, his 500th or 300th hit, right? This year, or home run, or whatever. I don't know. I'm not a huge MLB fan. But here we are praising A-Rod, still playing the game, having, taken performance-enhancing drugs. Yes, Pete Rose bet against his own team. I mean, that was not...
Well, there's so much there's just so much hypocrisy too. The game is,
there's
people who have abused their wives and committed other crimes, and people who are in the hall who have very checkered past. So let's get off our high horses here.
How about the college freshman football player just got? I can't remember what.
Unbelievable! I don't know the kid's name. I'm very familiar. I saw the video. I saw it on CNN. And
unbelievable.
It's not, though. It's not, because it's all about winning, right, in most schools. And so you're just going to go for the best athlete possible. Hey, forget vetting, right? Who cares about character? Let's just bring people in so we can win games and continue to raise money for the school. And it just gets old. And honestly, Nick, this is the kind of thing that turns me off on sports. It really does.
And you are passionate
about sports.
When you get annoyed.
I got to tell you, I got to tell you, I was a huge NFL fan. For years, huge NFL, huge Miami Dolphins fan. Kenny Stabler, the snake for the Oakland Raiders, just died. Died of colon cancer. And I grew up in the Bay Area, and I got to see the Raiders in their heyday. And they were like the Hell's Angels of NFL back in those days. And they were like rock stars where I grew up. Although I wasn't a fan of the Raiders, I respected them. And so my dad took me to a Raiders-Dolphins playoff game in 1974. I buried my dad with those tickets. That's how much that game meant to me. So anyway, when Stabler died, I got to thinking just how much I've grown detached from the NFL in recent years. In a time when people are loving the NFL, the game is as popular as ever. I am so effing turned off by it. It's not even funny. I'll watch. Don't get me wrong, I'll watch, and I live in a city that loves the NFL, Seattle. The fans here are crazy for the Seahawks. But I am so turned off by the NFL, the celebrities that are the NFL players now, the reporting on if somebody farts, it just the whole Tom Brady thing. I'm just done. I just want to watch. I want to talk wins and losses, and the other shit is just a sideshow to me anymore. I'm just over it.
I would only be redundant here if I commented, because I agree 100%.
I just so-and-so made the practice squad. Who cares? Who cares? Enough already. But I know I'm preaching to the choir here. I know you feel the same way. I think the NFL is so full of itself. It disgusts me. The part of the NFL that has become embedded in our pop culture disgusts me. I can't believe, Nick, I actually watched that movie Draft Day with Kevin Costner.
I watched it too. What a bad movie.
What the hell was I doing? That is 2 hours of my life I can't get back. It was a love letter from the NFL to the NFL itself.
Yeah, right. It really was, but it was one of those movies that was so bad you couldn't turn off. I watched the whole thing. It was terrible.
It was horrible.
Terrible.
No, it was
really,
so bad. And I love Costner.
Bad.
The only reason I watch is because I'll watch Costner do anything. And because I think he is such a talented actor, and I think
in his sports movies.
Yeah, and he's made a real good comeback.
Did you watch the one about and we got to wrap, but did you watch the one about cross country running? What was it called?
I have not seen that, and I don't know the title. I know which one. The McFarland Country.
Something like that, and it's rated 5 stars on Amazon Prime. By the way, I watched Nightcrawler.
Yeah.
What a great movie.
Yeah, there were some parts in it, having worked in the news industry, that I said, I'm calling bullshit. But all in all, I thought that was a good indictment of the news industry, because it is true. In the news industry, especially in big markets like that, you're getting ratings overnight. So you need to win your ratings or you don't make money.
I found it fascinating. I love Jake Gyllenhaal, whatever his name is. He just does, even if I don't like all his movies, he's ballsy in the movies he selects. And he's a great actor.
Well, he did Brokeback Mountain. He's done so many different roles. Yeah, he's done some incredible things. Such a talented guy, and I think someday he'll win an Oscar. Or maybe he's a little too quirky to win an Oscar. I don't know.
He's very eccentric in his choice of roles, and I think sometimes his movies are just a bit too intelligent, even for me. I get really bored with some of them.
I love his sister too, Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Oh man,
she's very talented as well, and she's She's taking it all off in films. I mean, she will do anything to make a great movie, and she is such a talented actress too. What a family! What a family! What a combo those two are, Maggie and Jake Gyllenhaal. But I'm glad you liked it. I recommended it, and I stand behind it. I didn't think it was great, but I thought it was pretty solid. And if you want a good look at the inside of television news in big market TV, definitely check out Nightcrawler.
Ty, on that
we should be doing a Netflix pick of the week here or something.
There you go. We should start that. We
brought to you by Raisinets.
Somebody. Raisinets.
That's not a bad idea.
Brought to you by Nerds. Remember Nerds? They were great. Anyway, speaking of our this show, actually brought to you by Tampax. Actually, this that was gross. This episode is brought to you by somebody. It's nobody we just mentioned. It's lynda.com. The Han Solo, the home of online video tutorials. It was brought to you by the experts. Their videos and their Excel, Word. I can't fucking remember Excel. The home of expert tutorials, brought to you by the experts, Ty. It's a must-have for anyone looking to find out just about anything.
Sure.
And it's crazy amazing, too, because you get tutorials from the people who, not just the experts, but the people in a lot of ways who own the companies or who are hired as consultants. So it has replaced YouTube for my go-to place for finding out how to do things. And they have a great mobile app. And we have a great offer for you today. Free trial with lynda.com by going to lynda.com/beats and eats.
Wait a minute. You're going to YouTube to find out how to do things? Uh-oh.
I was. I
That's
really
not a
was.
good thing.
You know what, Ty? All right, here's a good example. YouTube taught me how to build the Beats and Eats website.
Hey, there you go. Yeah, there you go.
But you could tell YouTube taught me how to build. It is not our finest hour.
Yeah, it just reminds me of when people say, "Oh, I read it on the internet, therefore it's true."
Well, I'll tell you what, and as we're closing this episode, report came out today. Not just millennials, but seniors are now using Twitter and Facebook in place of newspapers. That's scary.
It is scary, and radio stations and newspapers and television stations are on notice that people are getting their information from other sources. This has been going on for a while now. That's why newspapers are dropping off the face of the earth. Magazine subscriptions, radio stations are dropping in ratings right and left. It's kind of a scary time if you're in traditional media. Well, it is a scary time. It's been a scary time.
It's a scary time if you're in digital media too, because the industry is just so fluked up. I mean, it's very immature and still trying to figure out its way in the world. But I did mention that the Beats and Eats website as not our shining hour. However, I would say the Beats and Eats mobile app is something I am very, very proud of, and it's available on iOS and Android for free.
It is.
And Eats.
It's so easy to use, and just click on it and the episode's right there. Hit the episode and you can hear Nick and I go on and on being experts about absolutely nothing.
Nothing, yeah, but one more thing. I'm going to plug one more thing here, Ty, which is Patreon, our crowdfunding. Really want to put a push on this. We'll give you a free Beats and Eats travel mug if you donate in any amount. Don't make it a penny, though, please. But, yeah, we'll take a penny, right,
At
Ty?
this point. A peso.
A peso.
Where's El Guapo?
Yeah, El Chapo. He's got billions, so we wouldn't be able to accept it. That would be our luck.
Yeah.
He'd donate $1 million to us.
We can't take it. The FBI is knocking on our door.
Patreon, patreon.com/Beats and Eats. There you could donate in any amount. It helps keep the virtual lounge open, helps keep Ty and I motivated, and it really, honestly, we're looking to do bigger and better things. We can't do it without you, the listeners. And on that note, Ty, I know Scott Mitchell's really annoyed.
Scott Mitchell's got one of those sheep staffs, and he's giving us the hook, like the sheep owners hold.
The Gong Show.
He's corralling us. He's pulling us away. He's booting us out of the bar. And with that, the neon is off, and the lounge is closed.
It's closed.
Good God.
Good, that went way too long. That went, well, after I edited it, it's
3 episodes. No, it's like 3 episodes.
I don't know. Do you want to do that wrap today, or do you want to wait?
We can. We'll call We'll call Roy for, yeah, I don't think the rap's going to take very long because we'll do an intro and then we'll do our top 5 and, you know,
and
that's it. So basically we'll call Roy. And
are you calling him from Skype?
No. I'm calling him from my cell. I'm going to call you on my cell and then we'll.
Does he have a number you're calling from? Because if you call on Skype, I can record it.
You know what?